Preheat your oven at about 500 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 260 degrees Celsius, for about 1 hour. Then when you're ready to bake, turn your oven down to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 232 degrees Celsius. You will have to experiment with the temperature though. I noticed when I was baking this type of bread that the crust tended to get a little bit dark, so you may need to turn the oven down a little bit during the second half of the bake. Bake with steam for the first 15 minutes of the bake. I use a roasting pan lid to cover my bread to capture the steam, but whatever you use is fine. Then during the second part of the bake, take off the lid and allow your dough to brown and crisp up. Keep your eye on the loaf during the second half of the bake. It might get brown fast. So the first 15 minutes is up. Let's see what our loaf's looking like. This was the loaf that was 24 hours ferment at room temperature. We've got a really nice pretty loaf there. Turn it around and we'll put it in for another 15 minutes. Let's see how our bread's doing. Oh, that looks lovely. Go ahead and take it out. If I can get it out. There's our beautiful modified gluten loaf. There's our first loaf. This is from the series of loaves that we're doing for experimentation for very long fermented dough, which helps to modify the gluten. So I call it modified gluten bread. This bread here was fermented at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is an average room temperature. It was fermented overnight, and then I shaped it and baked it today. This loaf should have a nice tangy sour to it. Keeping your dough warm is a great way to have a really nice sour sourdough. With the other two loaves, we're going to be keeping them cold. And I will be baking the second loaf tomorrow and the third loaf on the following day. So we'll see how they come out. Even though they'll be longer fermented, they won't be as sour as this loaf. You need a warm temperature to get that sour flavor. So I'll let this dough cool and then we'll slice into it and see what it looks like on the inside. So let's slice into this loaf and see what it looks like. There's our crumb for our modified gluten bread, the first loaf. It's a really nice fluffy crumb. It can actually take a full day for the sour flavor to develop in a sourdough bread. So after you bake it, it will taste really good, but by the next day, it will be even a little more sour. A dough kept cooler in the refrigerator tends to be a milder flavored loaf than a dough that is kept warm or at room temperature.